Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, and oh my gosh, I did a freaking thing. I did a thing. I bought the thing, and it's this. Oh. I like, my heart hurts looking at it because it's so expensive, but also it's like my precious. So I bought my first ever full Big Daddy size Pat McGrath Mothership palette. This is a Mothership VIII Divine Rose 2. And let's just look, of course, at the multi-chrome here. That's a big reason why I picked this among all of the Mothership palettes that are out right now. And it is what I'm wearing all over my eyes. Only one shade. I'm only wearing VRSextraterrestrial on my lids today because if this is the quote main reason that I picked this palette, I better see what this baby can do. So I used it as a single shadow look today, and I'm really digging it. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving you swatches of every single shade and just kind of like a first impression, very visual video. So firstly, let me explain how this like happened because never in my life would I think that I would be like that beauty lover who would shell out for a palette like this, because it seems so ridiculous to me, you know? And the only reason I even considered doing this is because of y'all, because I'm able to make a small amount of income, not really income, I'm able to make a small amount of like pocket money off of this whole YouTube thing. So this was a purchase for myself, from myself. If I were still only living, like purchasing my recreational items from my parents' credit cards, I could never. But this was just pulling me so hard, and I got a fairly good deal off of Mercari for this, so I didn't pay full price. I still don't want to say how much I paid, but it was slightly under 30% off. A few weeks ago, I purchased this Blitz Astral Quad in Iconic Illumination, very neutral, to kind of feel the formula of those rightmost 4 shades in any of her Mothership palettes. And since having this, I was like, damn it, I want a big one now. So thank y'all for letting me buy this for myself. And I'm just not going to keep on thinking about how expensive it is and how ridiculous it is. One thing I was concerned about is that this VRSextraterrestrial shade would not meet my expectations, but I love it. So at least there's that to say. If you are considering purchasing this palette right now, because I know the Divine Rose 2 whole collection just came out recently, I hope this video is helpful to you to see what these shadows look like when they move and how they are in action and whatnot. And if you're not considering purchasing this, which I feel like is most of like the makeup purchasing community, a very small fraction of makeup consumers is like the audience or the intended target audience for these kind of products. I hope you still enjoy this visual information presented before you. Swatches! I'm not gonna lie, a big reason I bought this palette was because of Morgan Turner. I'll link the first review video she did on this palette, but oh my goodness, it made me want it so bad, especially because she said that this Naked Blush shade and this Skin Show Rose, or whatever the shade is called, that she used these on her face as blush and highlighter and love them that way. And I was like, I love me a multifunctional product. And then also, I'm going to link an Instagram picture I saw from Nailin' the Fashion, one of my wonderful subscribers, and that freaking shift on this shade on the curve of the eye, I was like, I need it now. I need it. The first shade we have here is Skin Show Rose Opal, described as an incandescent champagne with an opalescent shift. And if y'all don't know anything about me, I love shifts. I love duochromes, multi-chromes, like the jewel, the gem, opal, like a rainbow flash of any kind of precious stone. I love that kind of stuff. So let's swatch this one, see what that's like. So champagne with opalescent shift. It has like a little bit of pink reflected there. So here is that first shade. Oh yeah, a lot of pink shift. I can see why this could be used on the face as a highlighter. And this is like just a pretty standard like shimmer formula in terms of it's not super out of the box in terms of texture or anything. It's not something I've never felt before. Can you even see that? But not a very mind-blowing shade. It's pretty subtle. The next shade is Naked Blush, described as a mid-tone coral matte. Here's Coral Blush. Smooth and I would be pretty scared to use this on my face because it's really pigmented. Yeah, like you can see how pigmented that swatch was. Wow. So in like a follow-up, maybe speed review video or something, I will follow up on how that worked on the face and how light-handed I needed to be. The third shade here is called Eleganza, described as a chromatic plum pink. And admittedly, this kind of deeper pink purple shimmer is not like a shade I use a lot, just because if I want a pink purple shimmer, I usually go lighter in tone rather than deeper. But I've been seeing this used on the outer corner of the eye as like a deepening shade, and it looked, oh wow, that goes deep. Do you see like in the shadows? Okay, oh, I think that'll work really well as like a deepening shade. Nice, nice. Very smooth, just a very like smooth formula of shimmer. Again, like the first, like these shades are not mind-blowing. They're pretty shades, nice curation and all, but they're just really well executed metallic shades. But they're very useful, and hopefully I'll use it a lot. I better. I just want to give you like a realistic view of this as crushed colored powder. It is not going to fix all of your insecurities and all your life problems, and it's not going to fulfill this like, or fill the hole that you have in your chest that you think can only be filled with makeup or anything like that. It's like it's a product, but it's an exciting one. So now let's go into this fourth shade, which is the first special shade we'll be swatching. This shade is Bronze Rosé 005, described as a metallic copper rose. And the formula of these, or the shadow, is a baked kind of formula, so it's a little bit drier, but it is very sparkly. Yep, that's pretty coppery too. A lot of orange in it. Oh yeah, sparkly, sparkly. Oh! I'm going to dip back into the pan just because this is a drier formula to finish out this really long swatch. And obviously, I don't think you're gonna need to dip into the pan multiple times when you really use this on the eye, just because the length of an eye is not the same as the full length of my forearm, especially when I'm following the curve of it and everything. This shade, not sure how much I'll use just because it is so coppery. Let me actually zoom y'all in. I'm sorry, y'all have been so far away this whole time. Okay, yeah, now we're close. We can see that those shades better. This is pretty coppery, not a shade I use a ton. Just being honest, with my own preferences. We can see how it is in the light and in movement. The fifth shade we have is Gold Lust 001, which is described as a glistening antiqued gold. And this looks like one that will be fun to play around with as an inner corner pop. Very gold. And again, it feels pretty much exactly the same as the shade that's above it. I'll dip into the pan again and just fill out the tips. Just the tips, you know? Ooh, that one's actually a very warm yellow, kind of sunflowery, marigold. Yeah. I would say if any shadow looks out of place in this palette, it is this gold, because it doesn't really go with the rosy tones in the rest of the palette in terms of building a look. So it, like, no matter what, if you're only using this palette, this will look like a pop. Okay, on to the second row, we have Extreme Burgundy, which is a deepened burgundy matte. It looks like a really nice plum shade, and just a beautiful deepening shade for the tones that are in this palette. So here's a swatch of Extreme Burgundy. Very, very soft matte. And intensely pigmented. It even swatches like it's a pressed pigment, not an eyeshadow. Is this a pigment? Let me check. So I don't see any eye safety warnings or any kind of pressed pigment warnings. So that's just a really rich matte eyeshadow. The next shade is another deep metallic called Divine Dusk, described as a luminous rose bronze. Oh yeah, that is really neutral, like a neutral version of rose, which is why it is described as bronze. So here's a swatch of that shade. Ooh, I'm not gonna say the most neutral, but I'm gonna say like the most brown of the metallics that we've swatched so far. This one is not quite as opaque and rich and creamy as the other metallics, but it is a little bit more glittery, as in like a scattering of stars. Yeah, I hope you can see a little bit more glitter in there. Next we have this hot pink called Rose Seduction, described as a vivid magenta satin. So even in the description satin, we know that this isn't going to be hyper reflective, but it's supposed to pack a colorful punch, not really like a light punch. So here's a swatch of that hot pink. Very hot. Hot. And I'm actually dipping in a third time to fill out that tail. This would work beautifully with a brush. I can tell it's the formula that would pick up really well on a brush. Hot pink shadows I don't incorporate into looks very often because as soon as you introduce a hot pink, it becomes the main focus of that look, I feel like. But I actually don't have, do I have any hot pinks like this? I think I don't have anything quite this hot. Just in terms of like range of my collection, this is adding something that I don't think I have. The 9th shade is the star of the show, VRSextraterrestrial, described as a fuchsia, golden peach, and chartreuse triochrome. Triochrome? And again, this is what I was wearing all over my eye. I don't want it to come off like I only bought this palette because of this shade, because that would be stupid. Like if I only wanted one multichrome, I would just buy a single multichrome from an indie brand like Terra Moon or Sydney Grace or Divina. There are so many options out there, right? So I didn't just pay this much money to get a single multichrome. I got it to have my first Pat McGrath like full Mothership palette and to have that experience as well as this whole color story. I think that I would use this a lot, especially if I could even use these on my face. So that was also like a big draw. For me, swatching it, again, it's that special formula, which is baked and a little bit dry. And look at it on my finger along the curve, kind of how it would be on the eyeball. And in a swatch, I was actually surprised by how green this was. I would describe it as more green than it is pink. And I've been loving the whole pink and green combination lately, just because it's like an actual like flower stem, how the stem of the flower and all the leaves are green and then it has a beautiful pink bloom. That's what this kind of color combination always brings to mind when I see it. I mean, if they're including this kind of shade, it better work well. And this one really does work well. And the last shade, the 10th shade, is Astral Pink Moon. And this is like the hyper glittery formula from Pat McGrath, which I experienced for the first time in my Iconic Illumination palette. And I was like, that was the formula that I was like, damn it, I need to buy myself a full size now, don't I? So this is Astral Pink Moon, described as a glittering peach champagne. So ultimately, this is a topper shade that you can put on top of literally anything to add so much light to the look. You can see like, you know, like it's not a smooth shadow, right? There are so many particles and pieces in there, but the way that it's just like, pew, like a god sprinkling stars into the astros. So here's a swatch of that. Not much of a base color, more of an effect shade. And I swatched this, you know, next to some ColourPop Super Shock shadows because some of them do like the same thing in terms of having suspended glitter and being a topper and adding, oh, that was my caca talk, and adding light and whatnot, that kind of thing. But it just didn't do it as well. I bought that little quad as a tester kind of product to see how much further I wanted to delve into this brand. And she got me. They got me. Run for your lives. And there we have all 10 shades within frame. Love. Y'all know this is my kind of palette, just in terms of color story. There are a couple more daring shades for me, like these two ones, but everything else is like, I'm gonna use the heck out of these shades. And these two are going to add some fun when I hopefully never get bored of this, but eventually you get bored of everything in life. That's just how new things work. But this is a palette that I can see capturing my attention and my affection for a long time. And that wraps up my swatches. I hope you enjoyed. Woo! I think it goes without saying that I really like this palette. I mean, like I better love this palette. I better use the heck out of it until it looks worn and destroyed and whatnot. I'm on this continuous journey of always refining my own collection to be perfectly suited for me. And what that means changes all the time, right? So as I kind of refine down further and further, and I get to add some really nice pieces like these as a result of my hard work on here, I think that, you know, like, I'm not gonna be salty about this in the near future, hopefully. That is the hope when you're buying nice things for yourself. But anyways, I mean, right now, obsessed. I don't know. I feel so awkward talking about this because, like, my relationship with y'all, I feel, is pretty candid, and hopefully you trust my word. And so I feel weird talking about things that are really expensive and not accessible to everybody. So we'll see how much I talk about this, like, in my content this year. But I will restrain myself because I don't want to be one of those, like, Pat McGrath YouTube channels. Thank you so much for watching this video and spending your time with me. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's not exactly within the same niche as the rest of my content in terms of, like, the price point of the topic of conversation in the video, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and it helps me out. Plus it lets me know what kind of content you like. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go. Ooh, I always forget to insert those kind of action command plugs. Also, my favorite thing about posting videos is talking with y'all in the comments. So whatever your thoughts are, I want to hear them and I want to respond, and let's have a conversation. Remember that y'all are my treasure. Find the beauty in every day, but most importantly, be kind to yourselves. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.